Hello and welcome to the League One Lowdown, part of the Football Debt. My name is Sam, and as always, for sort of a different preview, I am joined by Callum. How are you, Callum?
I'm not too bad, Sam. How are you, pal?
Oh, good, my friend. After a very hectic deadline day, I think football world has now calmed down. We've got a couple of quiet days, mainly because it's an international break, which Jamie and Seb will be discussing this weekend, and if it's a good thing that League One plays, or if League One should just postpone like all the other leagues. So make sure you tune into their preview show on the weekend. But before we get going, Callum, on ranking every single League One club's transfer windows, A star, A, B, C, D, E, F, or U. I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least one U. We have an update in the predictions league. Now, you had a pretty good week, to be honest. While you only scored 10,
yeah,
you got a lot of correct outcomes, and I mean you got a lot.
No correct scores though. Well, barely any correct scores. Which
no, you got one correct score, which gave you the 3 points, but you got 7 correct outcomes. So overall, out of 12 games, you got 8 correct.
Yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad, is it?
It's not bad going. I did the opposite. I went and got correct scores last week. I got 2 of them, and then 2 outcomes, which gave me a total of 8. So you won the round again. So you've won 4 of the 6 match days so far. In total, you're on 60 points, and I am on 40 points. Unfortunately, our wild cards are not doing the business at the moment. So hopefully our wild cards this week will do the business. So if you're interested in only the predictions, I would recommend going to the end of this podcast. But do make sure you listen to your team and what we give them, because I'm pretty sure we're going to annoy some people with what we give them in this episode. So starting in
them, we'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So we're starting in alphabetical order. So sorry for you, Wycombe and Wigan fans. You're at the back again. AFC Wimbledon. Now, a disclaimer. Me and Callum have just spent the last 45 minutes. We've got in from work and we've just filled out this entire document. We hope it's all correct. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see on the screen all the transfers that have been made, all the most notable ones that have been made over the summer. So Callum, AFC Wimbledon obviously started the season incredibly well. What do you think of their transfer business?
Not too bad. They've brought in from recognised League One clubs as well. Ali Smith is obviously, I think, a big one for them. He never really found a place at Lincoln. I think they were playing him on the right wing at times and as a right forward, which is not where he plays at all, really. Obviously, Simway as well from Charlton. It's that League One experience. Orsi as well sticks out quite nicely. They have lost some names and to teams that you might not want to strengthen in the likes of Tilly and Newfield. Obviously going straight to League One rivals as well in Bradford and Wycombe. But overall, it's all right. I think it's probably what you'd expect of a team that's just come up from League Two into League One and hoping for a strong foundation for this season.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with you, to be honest. I think Asimwe is an excellent replacement for Newfield in terms of his output so far this season. Not as much in terms of goal-scoring threat, but in terms of his defensive abilities, I think they're a lot higher. And considering Wimbledon are doing a lot more defending this year, it's kind of important to have that. Patrick Bauer, while he's not a spring chicken anymore, is a very solid League One defender. In the way Wimbledon play, I think he suits them down to the ground. So a grade, and obviously Alistair Smith was excellent, as you mentioned, for them last season. So in terms of a grade for Wimbledon, I'm probably going to give them a B. And if we're doing B minus, I'll probably give them a B minus if we're going with that route as well. A B minus, I think, is fair for Wimbledon.
Maybe I'm going to go C. I'm struggling to see where, like, the star quality. There's been no real coups there, I suppose. But if Alistair Smith was a harder transfer to get or something like that, then maybe. But he was never going to stay on. So I don't know. I'll go C just for the fact that there wasn't no star quality, but still it's a pass at the end of the day. So take it.
Yeah, we're trying not to get like blindsided by sort of their starts of the season as well, because tricky fixtures are.
Form is temporary, class is permanent, as they say.
The old-fashioned saying. Moving on to Seb's team, Barnsley. Now, they've obviously had a very strong start to the season. As you can see by the outs, we've had to put it in smaller text because there's been so many. And not a whole host of ins. And what they have done is been a lot younger, shall we say. The squad has average age has become, I think, 25 now. It's one of the younger squads in the league. Nathaniel Ogbeta is someone who I particularly rate at left wing back. Murphy Cooper was excellent for Stevenage last year. And you could argue he's gone to a club with a higher stature in Barnsley, or has gone to a club in a higher stature in Barnsley. David McGoldrick, while he was playing at a level lower last season, is still a top quality technical player for League One level. But I do find it difficult to grade Barnsley because I still don't see if their squad has actually improved or it's Conor Hourihane that's managed to change the style of play.
Yeah, it feels like he's improved a lot of the players that were already there. But there are some decent, we always speak about young players being the gems. Everyone tries and signs that 17-year-old wonder kid.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something to be said about bringing in experience. We'll get on to, I suppose, in my team, one of the teams that does that quite well. So, for as critical as we've been of the likes of David McGoldrick coming into the club, in fact, it's probably a decent signing, and it's in terms of him as a striker himself is good, but he will teach players around him how to play. That Jake Rooney transfer is quite interesting. I've seen some bits of him in Derby's academy. He seems quite good as well. So yeah, it's all right. Again, it's hard to judge, isn't it? Because you don't really know whether it is Barnsley or the manager himself. I'll probably go C again if I'm honest. Yeah. It's good, and do you know what I mean? It's hard to grade it straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we could look at this in 6-7 months and say, actually, that signing's brilliant. We'll grade this whole transfer window as an A because that player really fits the system and whatnot. So we'll put that as an asterisk against all of this. That David McGoldrick could be the league's top goal scorer and he could, make it into an A star. But for now, I think I'll go with C.
I think that's fair. I've probably gone for a C. I think the big thing for Barnsley was they kept hold of their midfield trio in Connell, Phillips, and Russell. I think that was the big part for Barnsley. And moving on to Blackpool. Now, they've had an interesting summer. And if you've not seen the news today, there is a name, I think he's on this list. If he's not, we've missed him off, was Malcolm Eberwai, who signed for Blackpool for a believed undisclosed fee from Crystal Palace. He's been at the club less than a month and he's been released. He got released as of about 2 hours ago at the time of recording. There he is. Yeah, Malcolm Eberwai, just below Josh Bowler, who I don't know how they've managed to get him back. It's an unbelievable bitter transfer business. And while they have started the season slowly, I think there is a core group at Blackpool which is capable of getting top six. I go through the transfers they've made. They've signed Ihekwe, promotion winner, numerous times from League One. Fraser Horsford was excellent for Stockport. Niall Ennis is a proven goal scorer at this level. George Honeyman's won promotion from this level. Jordan Brown can play multiple positions. Danny Imre was one of the West wing backs in League Two last season. Josh Bowler is probably one of the best wingers in League One this season. So overall, I'm toying here, giving Blackpool an A, regardless of their start to the season. Because I think if a more front-footed manager came in, I think they'd be very, very good. I'm gonna give them a B, but because I don't think it's an A window, it'd be like a B plus, but it's on the verge of being an A.
Yeah, I'm confused about it in a way because there's so many almost proven players that where do they all fit in almost? Like you said, a decent core, but where are all of them fitting in? Sometimes you can have too much of I don't know, maybe it's too good in a way if they've signed too many proven, I don't know, because what I'll say will get quoted and made to sound really stupid, but do you know what I mean? You can't always please everyone, and like you say, already releasing one player that they've signed is not ideal, is it? So I think I'll agree with you on a B, really, because again, as much as we're trying not to be blindsided by what the table currently looks at, when you go through a transfer window, you should be looking to add to the squad that you've already got, not do a complete overhaul. And it kind of feels like that's happening, and they've not gelled together at the minute. So yeah, I'll go with a B. As much as we're not being swayed by the current league table, at the end of the day, if the signings that they've brought in don't seem to be contributing positively to the group after we're 6 games into the season now, we can take a little bit from that, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Moving on to the next club, another club who have signed a whole host of players, and one of many clubs who have had massive overhauls this summer is Bolton. The average age of their squad has massively decreased this summer. Particular players, Koza Dewberry, Ethan Harahan, who you're very familiar with, Callum, to partner Javi Simmons, who's in their midfield, Teddy Sharman-Lowe, who's someone Jamie's very familiar with, Ibrahim Sissoko, Marcus Fors is potentially, if he stays fit, one of the best attackers in this league. Now, I think Bolton have had a very, very, very good transfer. And in my opinion, this is an A. I thought they were lacked a striker. They've got Marcus Fors, and if they can get Mason Burstow firing, they arguably have a striker who can finish his dinner, shall we say. They've got players that will create in Koza Dewberry, Thierry Gale. They've got Osowi Tutu at right back as well. So, yeah, I really like the business Bolton have done. So I'm going to give them an A.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that one, cautiously. I don't know what it is. Like, they have signed every player that they need, really. All their problem areas we think have been addressed. You know, you've got that powerhouse of the midfielder in Arahan, the more creative players as well, and obviously Mason Burstow. Has he already scored 3 times this season already? So he's not doing too bad. They are slowly again that he's firing already. But then what is it? Why have they drawn their last 4 league games? Like what is it? Is that an on the pitch thing, or is it a managerial thing? Like what is it? Are they missing that leader? Have they got like a leader figure at centre half that you need? Are the players they've got there doing the right job? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll go with an A. I will agree with you because on paper, the players they have signed and the squad they have, dare I say, is up there. It is in the top 6 of the league.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
what
I think
isn't firing there is probably what's stopping them getting a A-star, I think.
Yeah. I think the pressure mounts on Steven Schumacher, doesn't it? If this run sort of continues to the next international break where they're still mid-table and drawing consistently, it's fine margins, as we've always mentioned in football. It's always fine margins. And obviously the signing of Cybers Christie might help with sort of that leadership on the pitch. So we'll wait and see with Bolton, but we do think they've had a very strong window. And moving on to another team that I think have had a very good window is Bradford City. Obviously, they started the season also excellently. Stephen Humphreys, Josh Nerfield, one of the best players in League Two last season. Tom McIntyre is the particular one that stands out on deadline day for me. I think Bradford lacked depth and quality, arguably, at centre-half. And this is going to sound really horrible, but I think Curtis Tilt is a League Two centre-back. They've now signed a top League One centre-back. You keep Tom McIntyre fit, in my opinion, he is a top League One centre-back. And that was probably the last piece of that Bradford jigsaw where they're probably aiming for a top half finish this season, to be honest, or a mid-table-y finish. I just think with the business they've actually done, if they keep their core players fit, like they're probably 15 best players fit, I think they're in with a chance of getting a top 10 finish. Obviously, they've got a massive fan base behind them as well, which does help. Like you're going into more hostile atmospheres in these bigger stadiums. So in terms of a grade, between a B and an A again, isn't it, for Bradford? I'm kind of toying between. I'd probably give them a very high B, very low A. It's in that blind region again.
What I will say is, because what we have to add in, I guess, kind of as context for Bradford is they've just come up from League Two. When you're trying to attract players to your club, and say they've got either a club that's just been promoted from League Two and as you would expect, struggling in League One, or an established League One club. If you're a player that's trying to choose between those two, then you're probably going to choose the established League One club. So in terms of the environment around Bradford and that context, I think they've done. I struggle to see how they could have really done much better, personally speaking. I think Joe Wright on a free from Kilmarnock as well is a decent signing. He's already got one to his name and is their best player so far according to the ratings this season. And Nick Powell obviously left Stockport County on a free, but we know what he can do. He's a decent player as well. So, and the players they've lost, this is the big thing for them. They've not lost any to local rivals, so
No,
immediately that makes it better. Not local rivals, but just league rivals. So
yeah.
that immediately makes it better than Wimbledon's transfer window as well. So in terms of this, I'm going to definitely say A. I don't even struggle to call it a B. I think, given the players they've lost are League 2 standard or below, and the players they've signed are League 1 standard, I would suggest. So, yeah, well done, Bradford.
Yeah, totally fair. And I can understand why you've given them an A, to be honest. Burton Albion, they had a massive, obviously, overhaul last summer. They've not had as big this summer. Obviously, the signing of George Evans on deadline day adds a bit of steel to that Burton midfield, which has been a bit open at times so far this season. Obviously, in the outs, there's a whole host, again, of outs, being Ruben Burrell being the big one alongside Max Crocombe for me. Max Crocombe was outstanding for them in goal last season, and obviously Ruben Burrell from January was arguably one of the best strikers in League One in terms of his goal output. And have they replaced Ruben Burrell? In my opinion, no. I don't think Jake Beasley and Fabio Tavares are going to get you. Like, if you gave Burrell the whole season, I reckon he'd have got you 18, 19 goals. I don't think them two will. Defensively, I think Burton might be okay, like Revan, Hartridge, Sibic, and then obviously the new goalkeeper in Jordan Amissa. They also then got Brad Collins as well. So they've got 4 or 5 very good goalkeepers. But are they a better team than where they were last year? In my opinion, probably not. In terms of a starting 11. In terms of squad depth, they've probably got more depth. But I don't think the quality is better, if that makes sense. I think they've got a deeper squad of a similar ability, but not a better squad.
I think the fact they've managed to keep hold of Charlie Webster, huge deal for them.
Yeah.
That's it. He's the heart of that team. Literally, he's the player that pulls all the strings. I do quite like Kyron Lofthouse as well. That signing. We know Barnsley have had a complete removal of all their wing backs, haven't they? They just he's changed the formation. So, they've obviously spotted an opportunity there to get in a wing back on a free. So that's quite decent. And JJ McKinnon, we know what he can do. He was instrumental really last season in Burton's uptick in form towards the end of the season that helped them pull off one of the great escapes. So I don't think it's as bad as people think. I don't think this is a fail. Is what I will say. I don't think it falls into the D category. I will grade it a C because I think they have got rid of a lot of the waste as well, and they have made obviously a lot of money on Burrell. So
I would agree.
I should say a lot of money for a club the size of Burton Albion. For some teams, it's obviously not a lot of money, but for the short time he has been there, it's not a bad profit, is it, on him? So,
no, I would agree with you. I'd go with a C as well. Now, Cardiff is very difficult because they've only signed the 3 players, 2 of them being loans, one being Nathan Trott, who's prevented the most expected goals this season in the league. They've signed Amari Kellerman, who was a PSR loophole from Chelsea on loan last season, and the Gabriel Welsh, who's a very, very good defender, much more experienced at a higher level. I think the big thing for Cardiff is they've kept the Colwell brothers. The emergence of some of their youth talent who, let's be real, a lot of them, if they started the season this well, sometimes they get poached very quickly because they're in the limelight a bit more. They've kept hold of everyone. Brian Barry Murphy, who we graded very low, has gone in and done an exceptional job so far this season. It's very. I don't really know
that grading, by the way. I will distance myself from that.
I don't really know what to grade Cardiff, but the big thing is they kept hold of their players for Cardiff, but they haven't. Have they signed anyone who, like Nathan Trott's been outstanding, but is not a name, if that makes sense. And Osho's a very good centre half. But they've kept hold of, I suppose, Callum Robinson as well is probably a big one. Selesh as well, the striker. I think for the sake that they've kept hold of near enough their entire squad, I'd probably go a B, to be honest. I know they've lost Joe Rawls and Ramsey, but they're probably on really high wages.
And the thing is, obviously, after those players wouldn't want to be there. Like, could you imagine Aaron Ramsey wanting to play League One football? No. Not a chance. And where Ghazi, he used to play for Villa off the top of my head. Like he wouldn't want to be there, would he, at all?
No.
So that's good. They got rid of the players that wouldn't want to be there, that would have destroyed their club financially. They've spent within their means, I think. Obviously, other than Osho, they've not really spent much at all. So it's a decent transfer window for them. Again, we can't be swayed too much by the fact that they're unbeaten in the league, because that obviously will and it will have some bearing on the grade that I'll give them. I'll probably give them a B, again, in agreement with you. It's one of them that sometimes you don't need to have the best transfer window to compete. Like, only because, say we grade a team U later, that doesn't necessarily mean we think they'll get relegated. That just means that we think they've had a bad window. So yeah, I'll go with, they've got rid of some of the deadwood that wouldn't want to be there. They've obviously, like you say, they've got because they are Cardiff, they are based in the biggest city in Wales and all of that sort of stuff. They're going to have a great youth academy just by the very nature of the club. So that will explain some of the good youth prospects coming through. So yeah, I'll go B. Youth prospects, I don't think, count towards a good transfer window. So
yeah, I think that's fair. So we've both gone for B on them. Moving on to Doncaster Rovers. Now, again, another team that started the season really well, using the momentum they bought from last year. Now, I've found this one incredibly difficult as well. While there's Matty Pearson there and Robbie Gotts and Lotutula, a lot of them are young, unproven players. And you look at the players they've lost, very experienced Tom Anderson, Aluwu, Woods obviously retired, and Joe Ironside, very experienced players. Now, this might annoy Jamie. I'd probably go a C for Doncaster, because while they've signed lots of young players, there's not much there that screams what a signing to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it. But I don't know whether that's being too harsh on them. Like, the thing is, with clubs the size of Doncaster, we'll get on to other clubs similarly. Dare I even suggest my own in Lincoln, that these young players are the way that they make money. They sign young players on a free, develop them, and sell them for a profit. That's how a lot of these clubs have to operate. Aluwu has gone, okay, not for a fee, but that's the sort of the model. Do you know what I mean? Where you sign a player, sell it for money. They've kind of got that there. They have got all the hallmarks of a decent squad there. They've not lost too many of the team that got them promoted.
No, they can't.
And by its very nature, I suppose, because that team was good enough to, make it into League One, should be enough to stay there. So I'm gonna go. I don't like doing high B's, low C's, all of that rubbish. But I'll go C. But we're talking towards the higher end of a C, okay. I think, for me personally.
Yeah, I think the big one was keeping hold of Luke Molyneux, wasn't it? And they have done that. Moving on to Exeter City, it's always and I find Exeter a very difficult club to judge, purely because their budget is probably alongside Stevenage and Port Vale, is probably the smallest budget in the league, being a fan-owned club. And I think the business they do for a fan-owned club is very, very good. They obviously have a very good relationship with a lot of Premier League clubs, seemingly Villa and Brentford, because they consistently get loans from them. Again, the big one for me was getting Joe Whitworth back, one of the best goalkeepers in League One, on loan at Exeter last season. They've had experience, obviously, with Danny Andrew, who was at Stockport for the first month of the season. Jaden Weirham has started the season well, with a couple of goals as well. But does it scream an excellent window? No. Does it scream a solid window, like a C? Probably. I'm bearing on the marker again of a C and a D, the same of Doncaster, to be honest. I think Joe Whitworth pushes it up just a little bit, because that is a standout signing to me. I expected him to go to either a top League One club or a Championship club, to be honest. I'm probably on the verge of a D/C again here.
I'm going to go with a definite C. I was toying with a B, to be honest. They've signed players that we know are all right at this level. Like Luke Woodhouse is good at this level. Like I say, Joe Whitworth stands out at this level. Danny Andrew as well. These are all players that we know can do a job, if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, that's what Exeter can do.
Yeah.
I don't think they can really afford to take risks, can they? Like, as a club,
No.
they can't afford to take risks because of the nature of the club. But, and they have to sell some of their better talents like Dimitri Mitchell, like Caleb Watts, which we'll get onto with Plymouth in a bit. They have to sell these players to sustain themselves more so than any other club in the league, really. But that being said, it's one of them that if we're looking at it by its very nature, I'll probably go C. But because of the context of Exeter City, I will probably say B, just because of the resources they have. I think it's quite impressive, and I just think Exeter. Maybe I have got a soft spot for them, but I just think they do football quite well. Just principally, they are quite good at it. If that makes sense, I have a soft spot for them in that way.
They use the loan market very strategically and well, don't they? Yeah. Moving on to Huddersfield Town. Now, this could be an A-star window, purely because we were highly critical last summer of the amount of business they did in terms of they didn't gut the squad that had the losing culture. They've done that this summer, and they've basically got a fresh squad, a fresh manager, fresh ideas. Obviously, we can't be blindsided by the start of the season because it's been a bit inconsistent with what you expect from a club that signed so many players. Now, I am going to give them an A-star because I think they've been out. There's a couple of names I know that aren't on the list in terms of what they signed on deadline day. Will Alves being on loan from Leicester City, and there's a couple of other loans they've got. So I think they signed 16 in total, Huddersfield. And I just think the squad they've now got, and I think we saw it evidently in every game they've actually played, is how deep their squad is as well. Like you take their right back, I can't remember his name, out the squad. You've got Lasse Sorensen coming in.
Yeah.
You've got Dion Charles, Joe Taylor, and Alfie May as your three strikers. I mean, that's unbelievable for League One level. Obviously, Owen Goodman had a bit of a hot-headed moment at the weekend, which Jamie and Seb covered. But someone like Ryan Ledson, Marcus Harness, Sean Rowan, very well, Joe Lowe.
Yeah.
They're all excellent for League One level. And I just think they couldn't have done much better in terms of building a League One squad this summer.
Yeah, it's A-star. Maybe if we're rating this on, like, just are they a better squad than they were at the start of the transfer window? All of the traditional ones, are they a better squad? Have the problem areas been addressed? That sort of thing, A-star completely. The one thing that I think kind of detracts away from it, but that will always be the case when you're building a squad like this. We had the same conversation with Birmingham City last season. Isn't necessarily money itself, but is value for money. Is what they're paying for Alfie May and Sean Rowan and other players good value for money? Now, you could say if they win the league and get promoted to the Championship, where there is better money that way, undoubtedly, yeah, it is great value for money because they've achieved their aims. They've got promoted back to the division where they can make and generate more profits and money that way as a football club, right? It's the whole saying, spend to earn more money in the future. If they don't get promoted, this transfer window, again, it's like we've said with other clubs, if they don't get promoted, this season will be viewed as a failure. This transfer window will be viewed as a failure. Like, why did we spend so much money? Blah, 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 blah. But like we saw with Birmingham City last season, spending money gets you through. It gets you promotion and it puts you in a solid place. So I'm going to say it's a A-star if we're going, because we're not rating it on value for money at all, are we? No. If we're doing value for money, then we're talking a C, B, but it is an A-star window. Alfie May, it feels like the epitome of what the past three windows have achieved. Summer didn't do it. January got halfway to addressing some of the problems, and then this summer is, this feels like the epitome of the squad, if that makes sense. This feels like where they need to go is, that they've got all the players they need now.
Yeah, I get you. Moving on to my team then. I mean, you just need to look at the size of the font to see what's happened this summer.
Too much has happened.
Now, this is why I've given us a B. I think too much has happened this summer. Is the squad in a better place depth-wise than it was last year? Yes, I do believe that. My concern is if you look at the players Orient have lost, like you look at Ethan Galbraith, for example, is there a player of sort of Ethan Galbraith calibre that's come in? The only one in my head that you could argue is Josh Koroma in terms of his output. I think the squad's a lot deeper, but my big concern, and it has been all summer, is fullback. We've got one left back who is a natural left back in Adiramola, who signed on loan from Crystal Palace. We've got Michael Craig, who can play centre midfield, but is being played at right back alongside Tom James. And we've got 4 centre backs, and 3 of them have injury problems. So we've got one fit centre back who could probably last a season. So I don't think the defensive issues have been addressed so far. That's not to say that, like we say, the free agents market is still open. The clubs can go buy free agents. But what I do like is the signing of Don Ballard, a player highly rated for a number of years, even when he was at Cambridge and struggling to score. I love his work rate. He's a penalty box striker and exactly what we needed. Tommy Simkin was outstanding for Walsall and has proven his worth so far on loan. And if you can get Aaron Connolly going, arguably he could be as good as Charlie Kelman, arguably. And El Mazzuni, everyone loves El Mazzuni, at Orient. So, yeah, I think it's been a solid window. That's why I've given it a B, but I can't give it an A purely because I think there's problems in the defensive department that still need strengthening. But forward line and midfield, I think they've done a very good job in replacing what we lost.
I think I'll agree with you with a B or so. I think you just suffered from what always happens to the teams that make it to the playoff final. You just get picked apart by other clubs. It's kind of just like, okay, this squad is good enough for the championship, but they're not there. So all the clubs come circling and picking off some of your best players. So that with Galbraith, I mean, he's a huge loss. But you have addressed a lot of the issues, and dare we suggest one of the better signings given by their free kick record recently has been Charlie Wellens. Which who'd have thought that? I'll go B. You kind of summed it all up, I think.
Yeah, the Charlie Wellens one was obviously controversial at the time because obviously he is the manager's son. I think unfortunately, he's going to suffer from he's the manager's son. That's why he plays.
Yes.
And everyone's going to ignore his footballing ability because you watch the game against the PFA and him in pre-season and obviously the game against Peterborough. He's a very talented footballer. But I think a lot of people are going to gloss over that sort of
His
thing.
surname is Wellens, so yeah.
Exactly. We've also got Alfie Wellens, who's just gone on loan to Grays. So
oh gosh.
We've got both his sons. Moving on to your team, Callum, Lincoln City. I'll let you take control of that one.
Yeah, it was a really, really weird window, I think, that has... I don't really know how to sum it up, but I think everyone was getting quite concerned about 3 or 4 weeks ago when they'd only brought in 2 players, when the only players were Sonny Bradley and Riley Towler, and there seemed to be a very steady trickle of players leaving the club. So you had the big outgoings with players that we didn't renew in the likes of Sam Clucas, Tyler Walker, Ali Smith. We knew Sean Rowan was going. We didn't manage to convince O'Connor to stay. Then, the one that kind of also helped kick off a lot of fuss was Zach Bradshaw, who we signed as one of the project players, as the phrase is, then left without making an appearance. Then I think it was his debut appearance for Cambridge United, scored. So you're just like, okay, what's going on? And then the big one was Jovan McCarmer. I think it was the opening day of the season, and we get there and he's not on the team sheet, and it's a bid between 1 and 2 million. I think 1.4 is what's being circulated from Norwich, which I think has to personally go down as the best sale. I would not have put Jovan McCarmer as a £1.4 million player personally. Not to say that he couldn't get there, but still, incredible sale for Lincoln. Arahan going as well. So the money has come in, and Lincoln didn't rush to spend it. They have spent it this transfer window, I think, in the likes of Varfolomiev, who has come in, seems all right. But what Lincoln do very well is they find the free players incredibly well. Towler, Bradley, and then the big one, Adam Reach. So impressed with him. He'd already come in, already got on assist. He looks so good down that left-hand side. I don't know why, but he is the left back that Lincoln needed. And we say that teams are built from the defence forward, and the back four of, Bradley, Jackson, Derek, and Reach, that back four feels so solid, really, and just allowing the players in front of them to do whatever they want. So the money's come in, and it has been spent sensibly. I do wonder whether some of the loans in the last day of the transfer window, all 4 signings on the final day, which was a chaotic day, I can tell you, whether they were thought through or whether, because they seem to have been thought through, just were announced on deadline day. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I think I'll grade it an A, if I'm honest, which if you'd have told me that at the start of August, I'd have told you you're having a joke. But I'll go with an A. I think the players that they've lost, they've replaced.
I go with a B. I think defensively you're going to be extremely solid. You're going to be the Mikel Arteta of League One
if you'd have said we'd be solid after selling O'Connor and Rowan, that sums Lincoln up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously you've lost Arahan as well. You did very well to get the fee, as you mentioned, for Makama, as you did. I think the only downside I think you had this summer was you didn't get a fee for Powdy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like you say, Sonny replacing Powdy O'Connor. I know Sonny Bradley is a lot older, but in terms of quality, Sonny Bradley's a very, very, very good League One centre half. So I've gone with a B purely because I think you lack that wow signing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
maybe even could be that. He could coming from the Czech Republic.
Yeah,
I know he doesn't completely speak the language at the minute, but the signs are positive already. So,
and I think, like you say, some of the deadline day signings, like Finley Barbrook, for example, was good at Sutton last season. It's a big step up to come into League One. So, was there a little bit of panic just to bulk out the squad a little bit? Possibly, I can't say. But you've done very well to get some of the fees you have for some of your players.
Yeah.
So moving on to Luton Town, a complete overhaul of another relegated squad, which was needed after the past 2 seasons. Now I'm giving Luton an A, nearly an A star. I'm giving them an A. The one particular signing that stands out to me is Ethan Archer, who obviously is on loan at Cheltenham now until January. They've bought players for every single position. Josh Keeley was outstanding last year. Cadeau is someone he knows very well from his time at Wycombe. Odoffin can play. He's a football manager's dream, can play everywhere. Jerry Yates hasn't hit the form that we expect from Jerry Yates just yet, which is probably why he's gone and signed Al Hamadi on loan from Ipswich, another striker that's been struggling for a bit of confidence. But I could be wrong. I think he played or managed him at Wycombe as well, so he knows sort of the character he's getting. Obviously, they've lost a lot of players in terms of Kaminsky, Morris, Taylor Asgard. But yeah, I think an A, pushing an A star for Luton Town. It's an overhaul that was needed, and they've done well to bulk out their squad as well.
I think what makes it an A star from me personally is that they got fees for players that they have sold. And I get that they've probably paid some as well in the likes of Josh Keeley and whatnot. But the big thing for me was that Tello Asgard, obviously he'd only just joined Luton, but because of that, I feel like they had to sell him because I don't think he would have wanted to come back down to League One. And obviously he's now playing in Old Firm derbies for Rangers up in, obviously that is much more desirable for a footballer. But Luton still got a fee for that, which, okay, we know they're okay financially because they've got parachute payments and stuff, but they still need that money to invest in a squad and get in fees for the likes of Morris, Kaminsky and Asgard. For me, really, really good business. And they have invested. They haven't just gone out and splurged it as well.
No.
The likes of Naki Wells on a free, they have used the loan market for Nigel Lonvike as well, and other players like that. So, I'll go A star personally.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it an A star. I would go with that alongside you. Mansfield Town, a club that did their business extremely early, I think it's fair to say, this summer, and then had a couple of top-ups, such as Tyler Roberts and Max Dickov. Another club that's used the loan market incredibly well, maybe too much, is my criticism this summer. The squad is a lot deeper than it was last year, and it's a bit more athletic in the final third. I really like the signing of Liam Roberts. in goal. I think he's a top quality League One goalkeeper. Regan Henry scored 2 goals against my club. Let's not mention them. So he's hit the ground running. So in terms of, obviously, we've got to remember the stature of sort of Mansfield as a football club. I think a B. I think if they'd actually, I don't think it. I think they've relied on the loan market too well for me to give it an A. I think a B is what I'm going to give Mansfield.
If anything, I think what sums it up is it lacks in ambition whilst acknowledging where Mansfield as a club want to be. I think Mansfield are very aware that this is almost like Lincoln. They are at a good point in the club's history. Like League One football for a lot of clubs is a good level. For as much as we say Bolton and all of these need to be pushing up, for the likes of Mansfield and other clubs, League One is the highest level they're going to be at conceivably at the minute in the current state of football. So yeah, I agree with a B. I was toying with a C just because it lacks that ambition in a way, and using the loan market as much as they have done does to me kind of suggest, and they turned to the loan market really early on as well. The likes of Joe Gardner as well, coming in quite early on in the window, does kind of lack in ambition. But at the end of the day, they've recruited quite well. So I'll up it to a B.
Okay. Moving on to Northampton, another club that's completely overhauled their squad under Kevin Nolan. Now, again, it's a very similar situation to Mansfield in terms of it's a club of Northampton stature. Have they had a good summer? Yes. I think some of the signings they've brought in Conor McCarthy, Jack Perkins has grown into his role in central midfield. Tyrese Forner from Derby had an excellent season at Salford last year. Elliot List has experienced everything at this level. Ethan Wheatley looks a bit of a handful. Terry Taylor's a midfielder I really like, a real busybody in the middle of the park. I think he's bulked out that squad. Is it like a wow window from Northampton? No, I don't think so. But it's an extremely solid window for Northampton Town. So I think this is for me, this is a B. I think it's a really good window. He's not too relied on the loan market. I know they've brought lots of free players in. Dean Campbell's someone I really like in the middle of the park as well. So I think it's been a really good window for Northampton, to be honest. There may be a striker short, maybe, which is probably why I'm not pushing them actually to an A. So I think a B is probably fair.
The only thing I'd say is it a window that really stamps Kevin Nolan's authority? Like, I do struggle to see. I mean, it might just be given, maybe I'm being a bit, I know Lincoln played them before the deadline, sure, and they've signed players since then. But is it a window that stamps his authority? What is his identity? Where does he want Northampton to be as a club? When we talk about the likes of, I'll use my own club as an example. Everyone knows Lincoln absorb pressure, then play out from the back with nice attacking football in kind of that old-fashioned way. What's Northampton's identity, and has he signed the players that can do that, or has he just signed players that he thinks have the quality that can play a system and will get a job done in the very Northampton, we just want to survive in League One way, which again isn't a criticism. It is just a Northampton's aim this season will be to survive. And have they signed the players that can allow them to do that? Very light for light replacements, like James Wilson coming in, going out, and Ethan Wheatley coming in. That sort of thing I like. I'll go with a B. Yep. I'm kind of tempted towards a C, but that might just be me being overly critical. I'll go B. Why not?
B. Okay, Peterborough United. Now, this is a very un-Peterborough-like window. I think you'll agree with me on that. They meant to be buying players from non-league and building them up. They obviously realised that approach wasn't working this summer because in the last couple of weeks of the transfer window, they signed Tom Lees, Jacob Mendy, Thomas O'Connor, Peter Kyoto, Clady Lolos. They're not the type of Peterborough signings that they go and get. This is unheard of, I think, for a very long time for Peterborough. And obviously, they lost a lot of quality. Like they lost Poku, Jay Jones, Kiprianu, Mothersill. We're talking players that were crucial for them last year. And while they had a really poor season last year, they've started this season even poorer. And they don't look like a team. They look bereft of ideas, bereft of confidence. And I know we can't really look too much into the start of the season because we're only 6 games in. But I look at that window and it's like they started off quite slowly. And then they've panicked. It's like,
Mm.
right, we need experience in now, and we need it quickly.
Yeah.
They bought Jacob Mendy, who played 4 games in League One last year. Lolos barely played in League One last year. Harry Leonard's just come back from a long-term injury. Tom Lees can't move anymore. So for me, regardless if they've signed loads of players, for me, this is like a DE window because of the quality they've lost, and they haven't really replaced it, in my opinion.
I'm going to probably ruffle some feathers here. This is an F. Like, it just is. It just is an F. They've sold some players for fees, but Poku, free. Schmanker, free. Jay Jones, free. Cipriano, free. Where's the model? We always talk about, like, the word model is used far too much in football, but where is the business strategy? What is the idea here behind as a football club? Because Peterborough has always been sign young players, develop them, sell them. They are kind of pioneers in that. A lot of football clubs have now copied that approach, right? Completely get it, right? It works. So why have they, like, but last year it failed. Last year they pushed the model too much. They signed too many inexperienced players while selling too many of the experienced players. They didn't have that balance right? So then why all of a sudden have they panicked? Like, why did they should have made the decision. For me, it was clear at the end of last season, the business strategy needs adapting. Because football is a business, right? Let's view it like that. If the business model is failing, you change your strategy a little bit. It didn't need a complete overhaul, but what they needed to do was sign 1 or 2 good, experienced League One players at the start of the window. That's all they needed, right? You needed the likes of a strong centre-back that can control things. You need a decent midfielder who can pull the strings, and you need an experienced forward who can put it in the top corner. That's all. That's all Peterborough needed. Let the exciting players be the wingers, the fullbacks, maybe an exciting centre back. That's what Peterborough need, right? They've let that experience go, and they've not brought in any excitable players of note, really,
I agree.
at all, completely. And what they've done is they've lost the first 2. Lost at a really poor start to the season, right? And they've gone, we are in a lot of trouble. And I'm going to annoy certain people who talk a lot on the internet about it and this, that, and the other, and say certain things about Peterborough. At the end of the day, you failed. You have failed as a recruitment strategy. It has completely failed, and eyes will look at Darren Ferguson, and that's where the finger will point, because their on the pitch performances haven't been great at all. But at the end of the day, he's working with kids. He's working with kids and people that aren't good enough for this level anymore.
I would agree with you.
And you cannot look further than the recruitment board. So, say what you want about Peterborough United. I've got, as much as there is a rivalry there between the club I support and Peterborough United, I've got a lot of respect for them. And I do think they should be pushing towards the top of this league and championship. That is the level they should be at. The reason they're not there isn't because of Darren Ferguson, it's because of the recruitment strategy. And I think a lot of Peterborough United fans will agree with me as well.
Yeah, I would agree. The recruitment's been scattergun, I think is the word I've used.
It's panicked. It's panicked. It's like someone playing FIFA who's thought, oh, crap, all of these young wonder kids I've bought in are really low rated and they can't do anything in the Premier League. I need to buy the best players possible. Oh, wait, we don't have the budget for the best players possible. Let's buy who the best players were 5 years ago and hope that works. And it doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I can agree why you've given an F. I'm going an E, but I can see why you've given an F. Moving on to Plymouth Argyle. Again, another team I found really difficult to judge because it's another massive overhaul. I think their business at the start of the window was average. Their business at the end of the window, after the statement from the owner, was a lot better. Laurent Tolaj coming in, £1.2 million from Port Vale. While he's not a proven League One goal scorer, has scored goals in the last 3-4 years, full of confidence. Alex Mitchell, proper old school defender. Owen Dale, hundreds of games at League One level. Decent signing if you keep him fit. And then you've got the bit more youth in Law McCabe to come in the middle of the park. So I think their business towards the end of the window was a lot better than it was at the start. They've lost a lot of quality. I think that's fairly obvious, like Ryan Hardy, Bundu, Randall, Grimshaw, Baidu, Tolarov. I find this one very difficult as well. Obviously, Cleverley's come in as manager, and I think he's a very decent manager. I'm toying again. I don't think it's an A window. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a BC window. I'm going to go a B, but I could argue C at the same time.
I'll go with B. I'm not sure what it is that's not clicking at that club. Maybe it is just a really negative atmosphere. You only need to watch a certain YouTuber to kind of get a sense of what the atmosphere around that club is at the minute. They seem to be more focused on the trips to the Spoons pre-match than the actual match itself at this point, which says a lot about the vibe around the club at the minute. But I'll go B. There is work to do there. I feel like it's more on the training pitch and the pitch than off it, though, if that makes sense.
I would agree. Port Vale, another difficult one, I think, to judge. Obviously, losing Tolaj is huge for them, but they got a very good fee, £1.2 million for a size. The size of Port Vale, excellent. And they did replace him with a man who scored 23 goals, I think it was the last time he was in League One, in Devante Cole. Not played football for around 18 months at West Brom, really struggled to get into the team. But if you get him going, a very good League One striker and a very adequate replacement. Then they added Mo Fowl, Dejuni Brown as well. Cameron Humphreys is excellent at League One level. And again, it's a team that struggled to get going because they've lacked a striker. They've brought 3 in now instead of having Tolaj. Are they an upgrade in terms of ability? Cole could be. But again, he's not played for 18 months. In terms of work rate, nowhere near. In terms of ability in front of goal, yes. So I'm happy to give Port Vale a B, to be honest. On this one.
See, I was going the other way. I'm comparing this to Doncaster and to Wimbledon, clubs that have, and Bradford as well, who have all come up. Port Vale's the final one. And when I compare this window to theirs, with the exception of Devante Cole, it just isn't a good window. It isn't a good window at all. You've lost the one reason you were going to stay in the league in Tolaj. I think that's like really poor. I get why they've accepted that bid because it is huge money for a club like Port Vale.
That was a release clause.
When that's in the contract, you can't do anything, can you?
No.
And the players they have bought in, again, I have to say, with the exception of 1 or 2, do not have League One quality, really, or experience is the huge name. It is the thing there. So I'm going to go, again, this is in comparison with other clubs in the similar context of Port Vale. It's a D. And that's why I think they will struggle, just because they've not bought in that they've not upgraded as well is the big thing for me, I don't think.
I think B may have been a bit high. I'll go with a C. I personally don't think it's a D. I think it's a passable transfer window, so I'll go with the C.
I just don't think they've signed the players that will see them survive. If they survive, it will be because of the people that are already there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on to Reading, a transfer window where they were actually allowed to buy players, which, hallelujah. Regardless of the start of the season, they've only really lost Harvey Nibbs, to be honest, in terms of how crucial he was to them last year. They've brought a lot of new players in. I personally think if they get rid of Noel Hunt and get a better League One manager in, they'll climb the table. Yeah, get my controversial opinion for the day. I highly rate Kamari Doyle for this level. I highly rate Paddy Lane. Matt Ritchie's still got something about him. Paddy O'Connor, as we've always mentioned, is one of the best centre-halves in this league. So I think it's been a really successful summer for Reading, both on and off the pitch. And I'm happy. I don't think it's an A. Jack Marriott, while 3 or 4 years ago was probably a very good League One striker, he's been off the boil, hasn't he, and not really played consistently. I think a very high B for Reading. I'm happy.
I'm going to go. I'd have said probably like a month ago a C, probably, because they were struggling to bring anyone in. I think they'd announced O'Connor and everyone was just like, yes, this is brilliant players coming in. And then they had that kind of like stale period, didn't they, I think?
Yeah.
But they've brought in, those 4 players at the end, incredible. Ritchie, Marriott, Lane, Doyle, huge, I think. So I'm going to go A, actually, I think. Like I said, they've only lost 1 player of note, which is always going to happen in a transfer window. That's just how football works, kind of thing. So yeah, very, very impressed with Reading. Again, maybe it's dugout reasons as to why it's not clicked so far, but the players they've got there should be expecting to achieve something this season.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Rotherham, again, there's been pressure on Matt Hamshaw already with the way they started the season. What he has done is lower the average age of that squad. It was an old squad when Steve Evans left. Lots of younger players coming into the squad, but how many of them are League One quality? That Tom Holmes hasn't really played football for the last year. I'm not going to pretend to even know how good Denzel Hall and Arjani Martha are. I have no idea. Josh Benson struggled to get into the Barnsley team. Dan Gore was on loan there last year. Ted Cairns been slated by his manager in the press. I'm because I don't know how good them 2 players are they bought from abroad. I'm verging on a D for Rotherham, and I think I am going to go with a D.
They've lost some players that you would describe as not key but important to them, in the likes of Phillips, Adolphin, and Humphreys. Again, they never set the world on fire, but they were there. And have they replaced them? Like I say, those 2 players from abroad feel very much like data-based signings, which we see and can work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shy away. Lincoln Bartholomew screams of a data signing that has then, obviously they've done the homework on. Yeah, I feel like I've not failed enough teams really this thing, because a lot of clubs have had good transfer windows, but Rotherham, compared to like the stature of club that we think they are and the types of players they should be attracting, yeah, D probably feels about right.
Yeah, you could even argue an E, I think, for Rotherham, but I think he's brought the average age of the squad down. So I'm happy with a D-ish on that one. Stevenage. Now, this is going to be difficult because obviously they've started the season like house on fire. The surprise package in League One this season.
Yeah.
Now, not to be overshadowed by that, I have gone with an A. I have loved the flair they've added in the final third. Kem Campbell, Bez Lubala, Phoenix Patterson. 3 players. If they've got what they've got to do, Stevenage, is keep them fit. That's going to be the big thing. They've got a very tight and small-knit squad. Gassana Hardme is another one. He, for League One and the way Stevenage play, outstanding. They couldn't have probably got a better lone striker for League One for the stature of Stevenage. Jordan Houghton as well. Excellent in midfield. Lewis Orford has that bit of youth and sort of legs and energy to Stevenage. So I'm going with an A. I don't think, it sounds harsh, but a club like the size of Stevenage could have done much better in this transfer window. And they've kept hold of they've kept hold of everyone that they probably want to keep hold of as well.
What I will say about Stevenage, so they're going into that Peterborough mould that Peterborough have failed to do quite well.
Yeah.
You've got the likes of Reed, you've got the likes of Piagiani, for as much as we slay him, is a very solid League One.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He's the type of player that you hate, but
yes,
would love to have. Do you know what I mean? He's the epitome of that at League One level. And they have brought in young players that they can develop and eventually sell to a championship side.
Yeah.
Whether that comes with the success of them actually making the championship, who knows? That'd be great for Stevenage. And who's to say if they sustain this? They can't. I suspect maybe because a lot of the players they have brought in are future prospects, that immediate squad depth isn't there. So will those players develop and then provide that squad depth in the second half of the season? Who knows? For now, I'm going to go with a B. I wonder whether it is a bit too soon for some of these players to provide that squad depth. But with some additions in January, not to get too greedy, maybe my prediction of Alex Ravel ruining Stevenage. Maybe I thought this slow transition. Maybe I should have had more faith in it. I don't know.
So next on the list, Stockport County. Then I think it's fair to say slow starters in the transfer window. Aluwu, Jamie knows very well, one of the best centre backs, if not the best, in League Two last season. Then had spent a lot of money on Malik Mothersill, and then they really kicked into gear once the season started. Brad Hills was on loan there last season. I put a statistic out. I can't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but it's on our League One Lowdown Twitter page if you want to go and see it. Nathan Lowe won League Two Young Player of the Year, even though he was only there half a year. Dodgson on loan from Burnley, and then Ben Osborne, who is a name very well renowned at Championship level. To get him on loan from Derby, very good friends with Ollie Norwood, is an excellent signing. In terms of the losses for Stockport, I look at the list. Fraser Horsfall was a big loss, but they've replaced him with Aluwu. Isaac Olafi was a big loss, but they've replaced him with Malik Mothersill. So I think they've got a better and deeper squad than they did last year. Again, it's another club that have used the loan market quite heavily and very well. So I'm going to go with an A again for Stockport. I think it's a really, really good window.
Yeah, I'm debating A, maybe A star. I think they've done incredibly well, and that the players they've lost, for as much as you say they're big losses, they are also a lot of them fringe.
Yeah.
For the likes of Nick Powell, obviously free, obviously at fringe. Like a lot of them aren't huge losses, and they have brought in players, the likes of Corey O'Keefe, the likes of Mothersill, Eden as well, Aluwu. They are all very good players that can more than replace what they have lost. And they are a developing side. These aren't old players by any stretch of the imagination, but they are also experienced through what they did last season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go A star. I do really like Stockport. I think they've managed this window, and at no point did we ever think this window was getting away from them.
No.
They've been very controlled, and that's what I look for in a strong window, is a club that can manage it and control the narrative very well. Brings in the players when the fan base expect them. When you lose a player that will kick up some fuss, have a replacement already in line and have that narrative there straight away. And that's why I want to go A star, I think.
And I think the difference between them and Peterborough is Stockport don't look like they've panicked. They knew what they wanted and they've gone and got it, where Peterborough didn't know what they wanted. And it's like, oh my God, we need experience now. Who's available?
Exactly.
Moving on to Wigan Athletic. Now, I think that another club, to be fair, that's had an excellent window. What did Wigan need last season? Strikers. Right, okay, we'll go sign Dara Castello, Paul Mullin, Christian Sadie, and then we'll add a bit of creativity to our team with someone like Ryan Trevitt, Oliver Cooper, Fraser Murray, who's been outstanding, and Callum Wright. They've got, in my opinion, the best manager in the league as well, in Ryan Lowe. While they've started the season very inconsistently, it's another club that has. I don't think it's an A-star window. On the verge of being an A-star window for me. I've gone with, you know what? A-star for Wigan Athletic. I really like it. I'm
going to go A, because I feel like they've addressed what we thought they needed to, but then that's led to problems elsewhere. They've brought in those attackers. Now they kind of look quite susceptible at the back, don't they?
Yeah.
7 goals already conceded this season. They are quite a leaky side. So, yeah, I'll go A. Again, they have brought in League One experience. Very, very impressive with some of the players they have brought in. I think Paul Mullin is a very, very decent signing as well. We know he didn't get the game time really at Wrexham last season, but again, he is a big name, really, now. So, yeah, I'll probably suggest A for them.
Yeah. I think that's pretty fair. And the final team, the Football Manager team's worst nightmare, Wycombe Wanderers.
Yeah.
Now, I can't get my head around this football club. I really can't. Mass overhaul in January, which kind of ruined their second half of the season. So you're thinking, right, let's calm down this summer. Let's have 6 or 7 in, 6 and 7 out. It's about normal for a League One club. You lose Richard Kone.
No.
Fine. No, let's not do that at Wycombe. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 14 new players in
At least.
the summer,
Saying we've
at
not
least.
missed any.
Yeah, 14. And they signed 12, I think, in January as well. I mean, it's just unsustainable completely.
Yeah.
If you're a manager at a football club, you want consistency. You want to know what your strongest team is, and you want a style of play. Well, if you listen to Mike Dodd last week, we just need to make plan A better. We don't have a plan B.
Plan A is not working, Mike.
What in the name of all that's holy can you come out and say, no, we don't have plan B? You've got a squad of players, probably about 28, 29 senior pros, and you have no plan B. Now, if we're just grading their transfer window, you look on paper, you signed George Abbott, one of the best midfielders in League Two last year. Noel Huggins from Premier League club Sunderland has struggled for football. Corley Woodrow scored 18 goals last time he had a full season in League One. Taylor Allen scored a load of goals for Walsall from centre half. Quintero is a fullback winger, I really like. Dan Casey's mahoosive as a centre half. Boyd Muntz is one of the best, got into Europe with St Mirren. And you think it's a very good window. And I know we can't judge them on the start of the season, but if we're judging the window on a whole, in terms of what the squad needed, you could argue to give them a C, to be honest, or even a D. The biggest one was sack Mike Dodds, and they've not done that. So
you know, it screams of whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Oh look, here, we've not signed a player here. Bong, we've not signed a player here. Bong. it very much feels like that, and it feels like they've tried to get, using this Football Manager analogy for people who have played it, it's almost like they need a 5-star potential person in every single position without any thoughts of who's playing in the other positions or what their actual star rating is. Cool, they might be great in 10 years' time and they might have, but why are you signing everyone from like Basel or Feyenoord or anything like that? Like what? Like what? Like, lads, this is Wycombe Wanderers. I know you've been in the Championship, but you're in League One. It is not a fantasy league. Stop trying to make it something that it's not at all. It's and the thing is, when you've not got the experienced players to play alongside them, who know the league, they ain't going to learn properly. So it screams of, I don't want to say you, because some of these players might turn out to be world beaters, but it screams of an E. And what I don't get is just have a bit of, like, I think I'm allowed to say this, having been diagnosed myself. It's a full-on ADHD transfer window. Like, just sit down. Like, do you know what I mean? It screams of that. Just have a seat, take a break, have a unnamed chocolate bar that we can all think of right now. Due to sponsorship reasons, I will not give them free promotion. But do you know what I mean? It just screams that they need to have a break, and they've not had a break. And it screams of an E.
Yeah, deadline day was hilarious if you're a Wycombe fan, because you sold Dan Udoa to Salford, which means you had no recognised striker after Kone also left. So on deadline day, you thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? So they loaned in 3. Instead of just getting 2, they loaned in 3. They got Donnell McKinley from Forest on loan, Corley Woodrow on loan, and Sam Bell on loan. They just thought, oh my God, let's just get a bit of everything. So they did.
Because why not? Why not?
It's going to be at least November before that squad, he even knows his best team. And by then, you're arguable, depending how far you are off the playoffs, it's going to be a very difficult second half of the season for them, because the squad's massive. So you then think in January, well, we're going to need to sell another 4 or 5 just to balance the squad out. So,
Well, this has been our longest episode ever.
It's been one of our longest episodes for a while. So because of that, the predictions, if you want to see the predictions, they will be on our X page. So make sure you go and follow us over there. And obviously me and Callum will be back for a full recap and preview next week. But make sure you tune in to Jamie and Seb's review show on Sunday, where they'll talk about the 8 games in League One this season, and should League One have an international break in League One. But thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you all in the next podcast.